President Trump's pick to fill the vacancy on the Supreme Court apparently has a problem with some recent comments the president has made, criticizing federal judges presiding over cases involving his immigration policy. This as Americans across the country and citizens around the world wait with mounting tension for the appellate court decision that is expected as soon as tomorrow on President Trump's executive order on immigration. The ruling will determine whether this order will remain suspended or go back into effect. Either way, most observers predict this court battle is far from over, with the case likely destined for the U.S. Supreme Court. We have Fox Teen coverage. Dan Springer is in Seattle looking at the trail of controversial opinions that has made the Ninth Circuit Court one of the most far-left and frequently reversed in the annals of American law. But first, to Chief White House correspondent John Roberts, live on the North Lawn. John, good evening.
James, good evening to you. And a split tonight between the president and his Supreme Court nominee over the sharp language that the president has used in attacking the ruling against his immigration ban. Judge Neil Gorsuch telling Connecticut Senator Richard Blumenthal tonight that he found the verbal attacks that the president has been leveling at members of the judiciary disheartening and demoralizing. A White House official tonight said that Judge Gorsuch was merely stating his views, and there is no sign at this point that the president is about to back off.
It's INA 212F 8 U.S.C. 1182F. Suspension of entry or imposition of restrictions by the president.
While the Ninth Circuit ponders the fate of his immigration ban, President Trump gave a public lesson in the law today. Reading the statute, he says, gives him the authority to do it.
A bad high school student would understand this. Anybody would understand this.
The president is on the warpath against the courts, tweeting that federal district judge James Robarts' order to suspend the immigration ban was horrible, dangerous, and wrong, warning if the U.S. does not win this case, as it so obviously should, we can never have the security and safety to which we are entitled. Politics. And he was not impressed with what he heard from the Ninth Circuit last night.
I listened to a bunch of stuff last night on television that was disgraceful. It was disgraceful. Because what I just read to you is what we have. And it just can't be written any plainer or better.
In oral arguments, the court zeroed in on the president's intent and what he repeatedly said on the campaign trail. Is the executive order a Muslim ban in sheep's clothing, written to include everyone, but really targeting Muslims?
This is Judge Clifton. Do you deny that, in fact, the statements attributed to then-candidate Trump and to his political advisors, and most recently Mr. Giuliani, do you deny that those statements were made?
Judge Clifton, no. I would note that Judge Robart himself said that he wasn't going to look at campaign statements.
A highly, highly respected judge in Boston ruled very strongly in our favor.
The president pointed repeatedly to a federal judge in Boston who suspended the executive order in its opening hours but reinstated it after determining it did not single out Muslims. The press secretary today said the order is on solid ground legally.
We've got to go back and remember that the DOJ's Office of Legal Compliance vetted this order, deemed it was legal. So we've followed the entire process to make sure that this was done correctly, constitutionally, legally, and every otherwise.
But the president seemed to be bracing for a negative decision from a notoriously liberal appellate court.
And I don't ever want to call a court biased, so I won't call it biased. And we haven't had a decision yet. But courts seem to be so political, and it would be so great for our justice system if they would be able to read a statement and do what's right.
If the president does get a favorable ruling from the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, he will restart his immigration ban immediately. If he doesn't, he'll have to fight out the constitutionality of the order in district court in Seattle, a process that could take months. And James, one other piece of business from the White House tonight. Fox News has learned that an executive order is circulating at the White House for comment that would make good on another of the president's campaign promises to keep the detention center at Guantanamo Bay open indefinitely. James?
No shortage of news at the White House. John Roberts, thank you.